Hello everyone, and welcome to 10 things you may not know about Final Fantasy X, as told by a speedrunner. If you don't know me, my name is Camper, and I have been speedrunning this game for way too long. And throughout the years, I've learned quite a lot about this game. A lot that I definitely didn't know or take advantage of when I played through casually back when it was only on the PlayStation 2. So with that being said, let's get started. To start off, we're going to bring the age-old question, is it pronounced or is it Titus? Honestly, when I was younger, I said Titus. Nowadays, I say Titus. Whichever the case, his name isn't actually pronounced in any dialogue. However, in this scene in Kilika, after Sin uses the Jack Shot Mark II, you can see that Letty actually, quote, says his name in text, which is one of the few instances, if not the only, that is present in the game. Next, we have something that is exclusive to the PC version of the game. So in the PC version, you can skip some FMVs, and in this particular one, if you happen to skip it on the first frame, Orin's animation gets stuck, and it just kind of stands there. Now, it gets fixed when the battle sequence starts. However, you get some funny scenes with him just kind of like standing, not even doing anything, especially when he's handing the sword over to him. Just like, here you go. And also, when we transition from the Sin Scale fight over to the actual boss, we got ourselves a floating Orin, and it's just a good time. And next thing, speaking of broken character animations during cutscenes, there's this little Easter egg left in by the developers where Riku winds up her arm once you approach her in Macalania Woods. And this is apparent in both the PS2 and the HD remaster versions. Next, we have a few variations of certain scripted battles. So first we have the Garuda Dark Attack tutorial, where Waka demonstrates how useful Dark Attack is with this Garuda fight. However, and this is something that we do in the speedrun, if you were to switch out Waka from the party formation, you get a different set of dialogue and you don't have to watch the Dark Attack tutorial. There's also something similar with the tanker fight at the very beginning of the game. The way this fight works is it's based off a script, and depending on how many turns each character gets, you get a different outcome. One that you're most familiar with is probably Orin pointing out to attack the tanker. However, if we manipulate the turn order, which we do in the speedrun, we actually get a different outcome where you can just start attacking the tanker without Orin acknowledging it. So back to the topic of PC exclusive things, there's something called skip storage, which we also use in the speedrun. Essentially, not every FMV can be skipped. However, what we can do is we can bring up the skip prompt from a shorter FMV, and that'll carry over to a longer one, which we then utilize to skip. And on the topic of skips, there are quite a few in this game. There's a couple that we know of right now that aren't particularly sequence breaking, but there's quite a few that skip a good amount of cutscenes and dialogues. So the first is Blitz-Off skip or scoreboard skip. Essentially, in the second half, when you're playing against the goers, there's a little interruption where Waka comes in. If you're able to score at a particular time, you can actually skip watching the Blitz-Off animation, and it'll still reward you with the point once you return with Waka. Another skip that was found recently is the Sandragora skip. So normally this Sandragora blocks your path to home. However, you can have Riku actually push you past the trigger of the Sandragora, and you can go into home without fighting it. The only thing is, if you accidentally touch the Sandragora while Riku's already on her way to her destination, you will end up in front of the Sandragora instead of behind it. Now onto the bigger skips. So essentially with these skips, you evade having what I call character paralysis, where essentially you're activating a trigger for a cutscene while also talking to an NPC. And so for this one, which is Mian skip, there's a trigger where Lucille and the Chocobo Knights approach you. but you can talk to this NPC that's walking towards you, and if you get it at the right time, you can actually move on to the next screen while the cutscene is going on.
We will be careful.
Next is Classical Skip, which is just before Operation Mihen. The cool thing about this skip is that on the next screen, the Chocobo Knights don't load in, and it actually skips a later cutscene where Waka kicks the cannon. Next, we have Jiskel Skip, where we talk to Trommel while triggering the cutscene with Shalinda. And with this, we're able to go into the hallway that leads to Seymour without ever watching the Jiskel Sphere cutscene. And next we have Guado Salam Skip, which saves a good amount of time. Essentially, right after you have the affection cutscene, you can get set up here with this Guado that's running and have another Guado push you into the item shop where Kamari will tell you to buy the good Guado potions. But during this, you can actually exit Guado Salam and skip not only the remaining cutscenes, but also the lightning dodging tutorial. Now, what's interesting about the Guado Salam skip is that if you walk back in, you can trigger a cutscene with Shalinda. And depending on your location when the cutscene ends, you can start walking out of bounds in this area. I haven't found anything useful with this particular out of bounds, but I'm sure there's still a good amount of FF10 that is yet to be explored. Now, if you're familiar with the game, you know that there's these cactuar statues in the Thunder Plains, and once you pray to them, cactuars will start appearing in both the north and south areas. And I'm sure you know that if you pray to one statue, you'll be able to find formations with one cactuar. If you pray to two, you'll find formation with two. However, there's a weird thing in this game where if you pray to two statues but don't actually leave the Thunder Plains, you can get a formation with either one or two cactuars. However, if you leave and come back, you'll only get encounters with two. So next is something that we use in the no sphere grid category of the speedrun. So Aeon stats grow relative to the way that you build out Yuna. However, they also grow based on the number of encounters that you've gotten into. The way it works is that Aeon stats grow at the 60 mark and then every 30 after. So it goes 60, 90, 120, and so on and so forth. Next is something that we speedrunners dread seeing. If you're familiar with maybe Gen 1 Pokemon moves where it's supposed to have a 100% accuracy, however, there's like that 1 out of 255 or whatever chance that it misses. That is also apparent in Final Fantasy X. In our case, I believe it is a 1 out of 101. One example is here when Everett uses Stone Breath. It actually does not apply Petrify, but it applies Slow onto Riku. And another case is here during my time capsule run on GDQ. Anima uses Pain on Kamari, and instead of instantly dying, Kamari takes damage. Next, I've got a couple of quirky AI interactions in battle. So with this battle, I found out while routing Nemesis percent one day, if the leftmost character is dead, Seymour's multi-spell may only hit one character. Another one here, which is very interesting to me because I never really thought of it. With the Blitzerator fight back in Luca, the normal way you would go about doing this is you would have Lulu use Thunder on the Crane 3 times to charge it up, and then you'll be able to play the Crane game with it. However, if you use Lulu's Overdrive and it happens to hit the Crane, it'll be fully charged, and you can immediately use it. So the last thing I have for you guys is a few quirks with the Chocobo Eater fight. And this is something that we utilize in the No Sphere Grid speedrun as well. So depending on where a character dies on this fight, you'll have a different outcome. So if you notice here, Yuna's gonna die before the Chocobo Eater pushes the party back to the edge of the cliff. And then we're gonna see that Chocobo Eater kills off Tidus right before being pushed off. And you'll notice in the next random encounter that Yuno retains her overdrive charge and is still critically hurt, while Tidus is restored to the way that he was at the very beginning of the battle. And there you have it. That was 10-ish things that you may not know about Final Fantasy X. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. I am very close to being able to monetize my channel, which is a goal I've set out to do at the beginning of the year. And I'm being carried mostly by my Final Fantasy X all achievements or plat % run, which has become a yearly tradition over on my Twitch channel. Speaking of which, it is also currently Subtember over on Twitch. So new subs get 20% off their 1-month subscription. And I have a incentive goal to do not only a Final Fantasy X, but also Final Fantasy X-2 plat run. So if you want to see that, check out the Twitch channel, subscribe there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.